Oh, hello. Well, I've been waiting to film because I kept hoping I would feel better, but it's just not happening. So I think I'm taking fate into my own hands here. I've been having a little flare, which has made my voice a little weird, and also my face is very puffy and red, and I don't really want to be on camera right now. So I thought that I could do a March wrap up, even though it's the middle of April now, and just catch you guys up on kind of where I'm at. I don't know when I'll be back to normal. This has definitely thrown off a lot of my filming plans. So yeah, that just kind of is what it is. It's part of the joys of autoimmune journey. But let's talk about what I read in March. I got a lot of writing done, which was very exciting. And that meant I was also doing rereading to support some of the reading and writing I was doing. The researching and writing I was doing. So I actually read a total of 19 books, but 5 of them were rereads. One of them was a fun reread. This Kingdom Will Not Kill You by Alona Andrews came out, and Tor kindly sent me a finished copy, and I thought, well, I guess that means I'm going to reread this. I will say I'm now upgrading this to a 5-star because, I just can't stop thinking about it. It has problems. Objectively, I think it's more like a 4-star book, but for me, it's a 5-star. Oh, God, so good. So anyway, I'm not going to talk more about that or the other rereads, but I will tell you about my new reads. The average rating was 3.68, which checks out because I feel like it was a pretty solid reading month for me. I had a 5-star and a 4.5 star, which is always very exciting. And I don't think I had anything lower than a 3-star, so that to me is a good month. In terms of things you've already seen me talk about, Wild Robot by Peter Brown and The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst were in my reading other people's recommendation vlog I put up. So I won't go into those too much. I'll just say that The Queen of Blood was my 5-star read of the month. I just absolutely loved it. It reminded me so much of Tamora Pierce, but aimed at adults. So it has the kind of coziness of a YA in terms of a lot of emphasis on friendship dynamics and, coming of age. It has a school setting, but some pretty mature things happen in it in terms of not necessarily how they're described, but definitely what is happening. I think in a lot of ways it has some plot similarities to The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, which I would describe as grimdark. So it's a very interesting blend of coziness and high fantasy, mature high fantasy. So yeah, I just love that. Outside of that, did I have any arcs? I did have one arc. So I read a new novella and short story collection just came out from Rebecca Roanhorse called River of Bones and Other Stories. River of Bones is the novella in it, and it is in the 6th world. So if you were like me and love the 6th world, that duology kind of ends not very satisfyingly. I assume that the sales were just not high enough for them to keep going in the series fully, or maybe that was how she wanted it to end. I don't know. But River of Bones provides a nice conclusion to the story, and it's told from Kai's point of view, which I believe we didn't get a point of view from him in the original books. So I really enjoyed that. It has tropes in it that are not my personal favorite, but if I'm being objective, I would give that story 4 stars. It's dealing with the aftermath of the finale, so I can't really get into details about what's happening because it would be a huge spoiler. But if you are like me, you love Rebecca Roanhorse or you really wanted more in the 6th world, I do think it at least gives us something to kind of hang our hat on with that series. So I am glad that was released. And I didn't read any of the other short stories because it's been a while since she's put anything out. And I feel like I want to save those stories for when I need a fix of new Rebecca Roanhorse. Hopefully this is a sign she's got some more stuff coming. I think she has at least one IP novel in Star Wars that's going to come out, but I'm hoping for some more OG Rebecca Roanhorse soon. So that was my only arc, I think, for the month. And then let's see here. I read 2 entries in the Detective Kendaichi series from Seishi Yokomizo. I read the Unagami Curse and the Village of 8 Graves. I had been warned ahead of time that the Village of 8 Graves was like kind of one of the worst in the series, so I had low expectations for it and actually enjoyed it more than I thought I might. But I gave the Unagami Curse 3.5, and I gave the Village of 8 Graves 3 stars. It's the more I'm reading of this series, I'm having mixed emotions about it, because it's one of the most reminiscent Christie-esque series I've read, in the sense of the kinds of plots that he's choosing to do and the kinds of family dynamics with sort of like rich people is very Christie-esque. It has a lot of also sort of that like post-World War II. It's actually making me realize there's interesting parallels, because Christie is writing in the post-World War I and post-World War II sort of fall of the British Empire, like decline of the aristocracy bit. So there's a lot of sort of like families who used to have a lot of money, or families who, had a good name but no money, or whatever. And it's interesting seeing these stories set post-World War II in Japan. Just the parallels there, I'm really enjoying that, and I think he does a really good job of capturing those dynamics. So like atmosphere and the recurring detective part, I really, really enjoy. The actual plots are a little hit or miss for me, and I think he does his best work when he keeps it a little shorter. So like I'm just thinking back on I think it's the Honji murder, the first book in the series, and then the novella, The Murder at the Black Cat. Those are my 2 favorite things so far, and both of those were on the shorter side, like either a novella or a short novel. So I'm wondering if maybe I just like what he does better when he kind of keeps it a little more direct. I don't know, but both the Unagami Curse in particular had like a glaring thing that like you kind of know immediately what's going on if you read classic murder tropes, murder mystery tropes. And then the Village of 8 Graves, I just think was just unfocused. So it's I'm having interesting feelings about the series as a whole, because I'm enjoying it, but I'm not necessarily rating it super highly. So I don't know. I'm definitely in it for the long run. And I'm enjoying the nostalgia I'm having for like reading Christie for the first time in some of these. But yeah, we'll see how things continue to develop. I'm having an interesting experience with that series. And then what else did I read? I have a bunch of cozy speculative things I want to tell you about that was originally going to be a vlog, and I just ran out of spoons to make it. So I'll save that for last. But I did read Self-Editing for Fiction Writers by Rennie Brown and a different author. This is an older book, but I actually thought it had some good information in it. Been doing a lot of writing this month or last month and then into this month, so some of the things in it are top of mind for me. I gave it like a 3.5 star. I think it's a pretty good reference book. I did read Everyone in This Bank is a Thief by Benjamin Stevenson. This is the latest in his Ernest Cunningham series, and I definitely think you can see the quality of this series kind of going down as it goes along. I say that, I mean, actually the sequel is my favorite so far. I think it's definitely the strongest of the books, but the Christmas novella was fun, but I wouldn't call that like super high quality. And similarly, this one, I think this is probably the one I've rated the lowest. I gave it 3. And I think I'm happy to keep this as sort of a library read for me, like if I'm in the mood for it, but I don't know that I'm going to be looking for it as it comes along. This one just got really convoluted. The setup is there's a heist going on that Ernest gets caught up in, and everybody who's who's there during the heist has secrets, and as the title says, everybody in this bank is a thief. So yeah, it's a fun campy premise, I guess. Or maybe not even campy. It's like, it doesn't take itself seriously, which I guess I enjoy that as a tone. And I think that this would be a really fun series, not even like a kind of like a Midsummer Murders version of a series, where you don't necessarily, like, you have hour-and-a-half long episodes and maybe there's only 3 or 4 episodes a season, kind of a thing. I think it would be fun like that, in that kind of format. But as books, I just don't know that it has enough juice to keep going. I don't know. We'll see how it develops. I had a pleasant enough time reading it. I wasn't like mad I read it or anything. But yeah, not excellent, and definitely I think the worst in the series so far. And then I guess from here we'll just talk about because the rest of this was rereads. So we'll just talk about all of the speculative fiction that I was kind of thinking of as cozy fantasy or cozy sci-fi stuff. And I originally was going to do this as a vlog and it just didn't work out. But when I started the vlog, I had 8 books identified, and I'll show you guys a picture of the stack. And this is it ranked from my prediction of what I would like the least to what I would like the best. So the one that I thought I'd like the least is on the bottom, and the one that I liked the best, I thought I would like the best, is on the top. And then here is the actual rating, the actual stack. So at the bottom, the one I liked the least, sadly, was The Hearth Witch's Guide to Magic and Murder by Kiri Callaghan. This was just okay, and it really was the voice. I didn't really enjoy the writing voice of this. It had footnotes, but not in a way that I enjoyed. I typically like that as sort of a metatextual element, but I didn't really like the way these were incorporated. It just was kind of blah, and yeah, it just didn't come together. I'm struggling to even remember the plot. I know that there's a fae person who had been condemned to like suffer for, I think, 1,000 years, but they have to like pull her out early because there's a mystery that they need her to solve, and there's a romance. Yeah, I just don't remember, like this was just not that memorable to me, and it was really the writing that bummed me out on this one. Wolf Gone Wild is a paranormal romance, and it is the beginning of a series, and if it hadn't had so much series beginning build-up, I think I would have had a better time in it, but it was like a fun, albeit long, version of a kind of category paranormal romance. There's a wolf, somebody's like put a curse on him to make it so that he can't shift, and therefore like his wolf is getting more and more aggressive, and then he goes to get help from this witch and instantly recognizes something in her. Of course they'll end up being mates. Yeah, this was perfectly fine. I would give it 3 stars. If I read this on Kindle Unlimited, I would be happy that I read it. I don't know that I need a full series of it, and I definitely think it was too long for what it was, but it was, a nice little palate cleanser. The Warden by Daniel M. Ford, I gave 3.5 stars to, and I did enjoy it, but I think that most of its zhuzh really doesn't come in until the end of the book. So I think it's a book that you probably have to be in it to win it in terms of wanting to go on with the series to get the most out of it. And I just didn't connect with it enough to want to do that. It was good. I thought the writing was good. I thought the characters were interesting. We're following this woman who's of like elite status in Ye Fantasy Capital. She graduates from her magic school and she gets assigned to be the like protective magic person in this remote outpost. And she thinks it's kind of like a crappy assignment because she's a woman, which it kind of is, but there's also more going on. There definitely is some cozy dynamics with the local town as the story goes on. She has a romance. It's a sapphic romance, so I thought that was fun, and something a little different for this kind of story. And I do think that it is kind of a cozier version and a more high fantasy version of something that someone like an Alona Andrews would do. I just don't know that I didn't connect with it enough to be invested in going the distance with the series, which is how I think you would get the most out of the experience, is kind of reading them back to back to back. So if you're looking for, cozy adjacent high fantasy romance to binge, like a little trilogy to binge, then I would definitely recommend this. I think it was well done. It just didn't have the X factor to make me keep going. The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. This is one that a lot of y'all had recommended to me. And I did really enjoy this. I gave this 4 stars. It is, I think, a pretty good... It's got the cozy fantasy vibe, but it does have quite a bit of plot to be a true cozy fantasy, I think. But it was plot I enjoyed. Our main character is a teller of small fortunes, so she doesn't give like big future predictions because that could get her into trouble. She's kind of laying low from the, local constabulary in this fantasy country because of reasons that you learn as the book goes on. She ends up getting kind of hooked up with these 2 guys who are off looking for one of the guy's daughter who has gone missing. And so she kind of is forming community with them, and they're going from town to town with her telling the fortunes and them looking for the daughter. We learn more about the politics of the world. She's I think it's fair to say she's fantasy biracial. That seems to be kind of what's implied. And so we get some interesting commentary on kind of like not being enough of either of her kind of identities. Oh, actually, wait, no, I take that back. She's not biracial. It's more of like an immigrant experience. Pardon me, I misspoke there. So she is from Ye Fantasy Other Country, but she grew up in Ye Fantasy Current Country. And she doesn't, she's othered for being not of that country she grew up in, but she's also like lost touch with a lot of the identity of this other country. So I think that there's a lot of interesting metaphor stuff that happens around that I enjoyed. I thought this was really well done. I do think it's a series, but this reads like a standalone, and that's how I'm going to take it. And I really liked the overall story that this told. Like, this had a satisfying beginning, middle, end. I liked the journey that our main character and the side characters went on together. Like, it was just good. It was really good. And then 9 Goblins by T. Kingfisher is very cozy. And it's weird because it does have, so technically these goblins, the titular 9 goblins, are a part of a war. So technically this is a book set during a war, but the war is such a non-entity to the plot that it feels very cozy still because there's not really a lot of plot happening other than these goblins trying to kind of figure out what to do about the situation they get put in. It's so short, I don't want to spoil things, but there's their plot, and then there's also sort of a fae veterinarian, I guess. Like, all the animals are drawn to him, and he like helps burr the breech unicorn. And anyway, he's got a little cottage, and he's like taking care of all these fantasy animals, and it's an interesting way that these paths converge. It's not one of the best T. Kingfishers by a long shot. Like, I would not say this is a great T. Kingfisher, but it is her vibe of, it has her humor, it has her version of like character dynamics, which I love, and I know a lot of you guys love. So I thought that was fun. Yeah, I've had this as an ebook for a while, but I was in a bookstore. I don't leave an independent bookstore without buying something, so I bought this because they just came out with a hardback copy through Tor.com. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it was very cute, but also it had some poignant themes about war and about like why people go to war and how people find themselves in conflict with each other. I don't know. It was a cute story. And then Rules for Ghosting by Shelley J. Stone. I think that this one, if it had been more of a paranormal romance and less of kind of a contemporary romance with paranormal elements to it, I think I would have loved this. This was one recommended to me by my friend Jolene, and she's just been like crushing it with recommendations for me lately. And I thought that this was just the writing was just great. It was really well written. It's about a family who is going through conflict because mom is leaving dad for their rabbi's wife. So that's very complicated, obviously. And because she's leaving him, she has been sort of running the business side of the family funeral home. And our main character, who is a trans man, but has, that's a part of his identity, but and definitely a part of his like internal conflict. But if you're looking for, it's not like that's the tension point in the story, I guess I would say. If you're looking for something that's got that included, but it's not, I don't know. It's like a cozy book still, maybe, I guess is the way to say it. It's not like he's dealing with, a family who's rejected him or something like that. But anyway, so he is kind of between things with work. And so he kind of reluctantly ends up taking over the business side. He's also having a romance with this guy who has lost his husband recently, so there's some conflict there because that's tough. But the other piece of the conflict is that our main character, he can see dead people. So anyway, from there, love and conflict ensues. Like I said, I thought it was really well written, really well done. It just didn't have enough of the like paranormal part. So it just ended up reading much more like a contemporary, which I like a contemporary, but that's just not as much what I've been in the mood for recently. So if we'd had like full on ghostness, I think I would have loved this. But as it was, I would definitely recommend it. I think it was well done, but just didn't hit my sort of like X Factor sweet spot of like, oh yes, I love this. Okay, and then the one that I'm giving 4.5 stars to is Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. I picked this up because I have been wanting to cancel my Book of the Month club because I'm trying not to get as many books, but as a part of that, I had a credit and I also had a free book credit, so I wanted to like go out with a bang and also get, some of the add-ons I'd been looking at. So this was one of the books that made all of that make sense, so I included it. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to love this, but if I do love this, I know I'm going to want a copy of it, so I'll take a risk. And I'm very glad I did, because first of all, I really love the cover. I think it's delightful. But also because I just had such a good time in this. It is so clearly a take on Howl's Moving Castle. So that's my favorite. Would I say that? It's in my top 3 favorite YA fantasies I read as a kid. Like that, Howl's Moving Castle, the original Sabriel by Garth Nix. And it might be those two. It might be safe to say those were my 2 favorite fantasies when I was a kid. But I love Howl's Moving Castle, and this is so clearly an homage to that. Our main character is Agnes, the titular Agnes, and she has a cat shelter, a cat charity, and it has fallen on really hard times. She is a widow, and her current location is impacted by this magic explosion. And so she has to find somewhere new to go, like a new place for her shelter. It's really hard to find anything that will accept her because it's a cat charity. And she ends up in this sort of questionable place that seems like something shady related to magic is going on, but she doesn't quite know what it is. And then things kind of go from there. I think that this was cozy. It had, I would think it's fair to say this had a full-on plot. So I wouldn't say that it's like the coziest. It has certainly more plot than something like Legends and Lattes. Like it definitely has more plot than that. But it is a very character focused plot. It's a lot about like making sure people have, don't shut down the cat shelter kind of a thing. And the romantic dynamic really worked for me because, like I said, Howl's Moving Castle is like an text for me in terms of like my mental furniture and how I like to read a romance. So I really enjoyed that part. Obviously I loved all the cat stuff because I love cats. And I also thought that she's really close with her sister, and I really liked the brother-sister dynamics in this. Like she and her sister are close, and then the dude has a very complicated relationship with his sister. So I really like the sibling stuff in this, and it just was like cozy. I flew through it. So yeah, I would call this a favorite of the year. So I'm giving it a 4.5 star. And yeah, that was all of the cozy fantasy stuff. You'll notice that I did not finish Entreat Me. I actually DNF'd it, but because I love Grace Draven, I'm putting it in my 3 strikes you're out pile. So like, I think I might just not have been in the right mood to read that. So I'm going to try again with that one. But for now, it's in timeout. I just wasn't vibing with it for whatever reason, but I really have loved Grace Draven stuff in the past. So I want to give it another go. But yeah, I think that's everything I read in March. And even just talking about this has exhausted me and I need to go lay down. So I hope you're doing well. Like I said, I kind of don't know when I'm going to be up and at 'em again. We'll see. Hopefully soon. But I might see you guys for an April wrap up. Or I might not. I just don't know. I'm not even going to guess. We'll see what happens. But I do hope you're well. I hope that you are taking care of yourself and each other, your friends, family, community. And yeah, hit the bell if you want to know when I'm going to post, because I clearly don't know when I am. So that way you'll know. And we'll just talk soon. Bye.